You're grinding. You've been saving, cutting expenses, working overtime, doing everything right. And after 2 years of discipline that honestly felt brutal, you finally hit $50,000 in savings. It feels good. It feels like progress. But then you do the math and realize, at this rate, getting to $100,000 is going to take another 2 years of the same grind. And getting to $200,000, that's 4 more years after that. 6 years total from where you are now. The thought is exhausting. It feels impossible. You start wondering if building real wealth is even realistic for someone like you. My name is Zach, and I help people understand the hidden mechanics of wealth building that make all the difference between staying stuck and actually breaking through. And here's something that sounds completely backwards until you understand the math. Getting from $100,000 to $200,000 is genuinely easier than getting from zero to $100,000. Not a little easier, dramatically easier. And once you see why, it changes how you think about every financial decision you make in your 20s and 30s. Let's start with the basic truth that most people don't want to hear. The first $100,000 is an absolute war of attrition. It's you versus your expenses, your habits, your lifestyle, and your very reasonable desire to actually enjoy your life instead of living like a monk. You're funding that entire $100,000 with your labor, your paycheck, your side hustle, your hours. Every single dollar came from you trading your time and energy for money, then forcing yourself not to spend it. That's hard. That takes years, and it feels slow because it is slow. But here's what changes once you hit $100,000. Your money starts working, not as a side gig, as a legitimate contributor to your wealth. And the math on this is so clear, it's almost unfair. Let's say you've got $100,000 invested in a standard index fund. The stock market historically returns about 10% annually on average. Some years more, some years less, but 10% is the reasonable long-term expectation. That means your $100,000 generates $10,000 in growth in year one. You didn't work for that $10,000. You didn't save it from your paycheck. It just appeared because your money made money. Now you're starting year two with $110,000, and that grows by another $11,000, then $12,100, then $13,310. Each year, the growth gets bigger because you're earning returns on your original money plus all the previous returns. That's compound growth, and it's the closest thing to actual magic in finance. Now let's compare that to someone starting from zero. They're trying to save $10,000 from their paycheck. After taxes, insurance, rent, food, and everything else, they might realistically save $500 or $800 a month if they're being aggressive. That's $6,000 to $9,600 a year, assuming nothing goes wrong. No car repairs, no medical emergencies, no life happening. The person with $100,000 invested just made more money doing absolutely nothing than the person starting from zero made by grinding and sacrificing for an entire year. That's the gap. That's what people mean when they talk about the first $100,000 being the hardest. You're dragging that entire amount across the finish line yourself. But after that, your money starts carrying weight. It starts contributing. And the bigger it gets, the more it contributes. Here's where the math gets even more dramatic. Once you hit $100,000 and you're still contributing, say $1,000 a month from your income, you're now adding $12,000 a year through savings, plus around $10,000 through investment returns. That's $22,000 in year one. Your net worth isn't growing by $12,000 anymore. It's growing by nearly double that. And next year, it'll be even more because your bigger balance generates bigger returns. Run that forward. Starting from $100,000, adding $1,000 monthly with 10% returns, you hit $200,000 in roughly 4.5 years. That's less time than it took to get to $100,000 in the first place, even though you're doubling your money. And getting from $200,000 to $300,000, About 3.5 years. Then $300,000 to $400,000, just under 3 years. It accelerates. Each milestone comes faster than the last because your returns are compounding on an increasingly large base. Charlie Munger, the late investing legend, used to say the first $100,000 is a grind, but you have to get there no matter what it takes. His exact words were something like, "Getting rich is a slow process, but the first $100,000 is a bit." He understood this math intimately. Once you clear that threshold, the compounding machine actually starts working in your favor instead of being this abstract concept people talk about. But here's the part that makes this harder than it needs to be for most people. They don't believe it. They see $100,000 as this impossible mountain, so they don't even start climbing. Or they start, get to $15,000 or $30,000, don't see their life transforming yet, and give up. They quit right before the compound growth curve starts bending upward. It's like planting a bamboo tree. You water it for 5 years and see almost nothing. Then, in year 6, it grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. The first $100,000 is the watering period. You're not seeing the growth yet, but you're building the foundation that makes explosive growth possible. Let me give you another angle on this. Think about how much discipline it takes to save your first $10,000 versus your second $10,000. The first $10,000, you're changing your entire lifestyle. You're saying no to trips, no to eating out, no to buying stuff your friends have. You're white-knuckling it. By the time you're adding your 10th $10,000 increment to get from $90,000 to $100,000, you're still being disciplined, sure, but the habits are automatic now. You've already made the hard behavioral changes. You've already proven to yourself you can do this. The emotional and psychological weight is completely different. And on the flip side, once you've got $100,000 working for you, the pressure eases. You don't have to be quite as obsessive because your money is doing some of the heavy lifting. A $10,000 investment return covers mistakes, emergencies, or even a slightly looser budget without derailing everything. You've got room to breathe. There's also the career component people don't talk about enough. The person who gets to $100,000 saved is usually in a completely different place professionally than when they started. If you began this journey at 25, making $50,000 a year, by the time you hit $100,000 in savings, let's say 5 or 6 years later, you're 30 or 31, probably making $70,000 or $80,000, maybe more. Your earning power has increased. Your savings rate has increased. You're not the same person anymore. Getting to $200,000 isn't just easier because of compound returns. It's easier because you're more valuable in the marketplace and contributing more from your income too. Here's the uncomfortable reality though. Most people never get to $100,000. They get to $30,000 or $50,000 and then life happens. They buy a bigger house. They upgrade the car. They loosen the budget because they feel like they've earned it. And they have earned it, genuinely. But every dollar you pull out of that compounding machine costs you all the future growth that dollar would have generated. That's the trade. Present comfort for exponential future growth. I'm not saying don't enjoy your life. I'm not saying live in deprivation forever. But I am saying the person who gets to $100,000 and stays there for 5 years while lifestyle inflation eats their raises will never experience what happens at $200,000, $300,000, or beyond. They'll plateau. And the person who pushes through, who keeps contributing even after hitting $100,000, will watch their wealth accelerate in ways that feel almost unbelievable compared to those first brutal years. So what does this mean practically? It means your 20s and early 30s are the most important wealth-building years of your life, even though you're probably making the least money you'll ever make as a working adult. Every dollar you invest at 25 has 40 years to compound. Every dollar you invest at 35 has 30 years. That 10-year difference is the difference between that dollar turning into $45 versus $17, assuming 10% returns. The time component is everything. It also means that if you're sitting at $40,000 or $60,000 saved, you're closer than you think. You're not trying to get to $100,000 and then start over for $200,000. You're trying to get to $100,000 so the next $100,000 happens almost automatically. You're building a machine. And right now, you're still assembling the parts, which is the hardest phase. But once that machine is operational, it runs increasingly on its own momentum. The first $100,000 is you dragging a boulder uphill. The second $100,000 is you and the boulder rolling down the other side together, picking up speed. The math isn't lying. The path isn't a secret. It's just hard, and it takes longer than anyone wants it to. But getting there changes everything. And once you do, you'll look back and wonder why nobody explained this to you earlier. Because if they had, you might have started sooner.